Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings, salutations. This is, and I quote, a live weekly show where we introduce you to some of the best creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of I Quote Channel, and our guest on this very special episode, as it's airing on the holiday weekend of July 4th. Happy 250th birthday to the U.S. of A. America, brother. Yeah. Please welcome indie writer extraordinaire DM Weber is here this week. Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, Ryan?
Oh, we're fine. We're all fine here. No, thank you. How are you? Anyway,
good reference. I love it.
See what I did there? Yeah, I'm getting better
that.
at this job. I'm going to have one tomorrow. Thank you for being here with us, DM Web. We're also thankful that you are here, maybe watching and listening to this program right now. So treat yourself. Don't forget to like and share this video with your closest friends. If you're watching us live on the replay, thank you so much for doing so. If you have any questions for DM Weber as we go throughout the course of these proceedings, drop them like it's hot in the comments down below. We're more than happy to bring them up here on screen and read them out loud to the best of our ability. With all that being said, DM Weber, what would you say were some of your favorite books or writers growing up as a youngling?
So that's a fun one because, a lot of writers will say, oh, yeah, I grew up with like Tom Clancy or, someone else, maybe Lee Child, right? But, I actually didn't. I grew up with a little bit of Michael Crichton here and there on my dad's shelf. And then outside of that, I was mostly into military history. So it was a different kind of upbringing. And I didn't get into fiction until much later in life.
I gotcha. All right. Some things come a little bit earlier. Some things come a little bit later. All good things. That is for sure. What would you say were some of your favorite TV series, past or present?
Well, it's funny because we talked about it prior to coming on. JAG was one of those shows, in terms of like, aviation and military history and things like that, legal shows. That's where it started for me. And then looking forward in time, some of the shows that kind of caught my eye very quickly were like 24, for instance. Watch a handful of episodes of NCIS. Outside of that, a lot of it was, movies such as like, Top Gun or like The Rock, for instance, was one of my classics.
Ooh, boy, The Rock with you talk about The Rock with Connery and Cage.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The one and only.
Just do your best. Your best. Losers always whine about their best.
Exactly.
Winners go home and get the prom queen. Carla was the prom queen. Really? Yeah. Anyway, come on. Nick Cage and
very
Connery
quotable.
In the same movie at the same time. Nick Cage is a little bit off the wall, and Connery's a very serious theater-trained actor.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's
the perfect combination.
Seriously, it really is.
Yep.
Stanley Goodspeed. Well, of course you are. Stanley Goodspeed. Like, what kind of a name is that? That is just, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
And you're right. It's very quotable. So,
I heard someone say at one point, little like speculation, kind of off the walls, like almost, conspiracy theory, almost type of stuff that like John Patrick Mason is actually James Bond.
Yes.
I'm like,
it could be.
Okay. Yeah. That, I'm not going to discount that theory.
It could be. Yeah. It could be like his final performance as James Bond, just not calling himself specifically, Jimmy Bond. But yeah, people have said, I've actually heard that too, that The Rock is an extension of the Bond franchise because it's James Bond saying goodbye to that character. Well, Sean Connery anyway, saying goodbye to the character and saying, hey, I've done a lot over the years. I've accomplished a lot of missions, but I've also lost a lot of stuff along the way.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to leave you with. And it's stuff that were like secrets of world history, American history, all that stuff. I'm not against that theory really, because when I go back and watch The Rock, it's just a fun time. And with him saying the stuff that he says, it kind of makes sense. Like he's been through a lot and he knows stuff that most government agencies wouldn't touch. So
100%, 100%. You know,
you know,
and I think with that said, it's like you almost look at it like if it was in fact that, right?
yeah,
It's like one last little hurrah, and then he disappears into the the nothingness, right? That is
into the sunset.
discreet retirement. Yeah,
Yeah, walks
yeah,
off into the sunset, or walks off, as he says in Last Crusade, ships pass the night. So
yep,
it could
yep.
it could be that. That was one of the first. That's like, honestly, that was like the first time I ever saw Connery was in Last Crusade. It was the first time I ever
Hmm.
saw him, and
Okay.
because I'm a bit younger than some, it's okay. But yeah, my first time seeing Connery as an actor was in Last Crusade, which I think it's my favorite Indiana Jones movie of all time, 100%. There's no doubt,
Yeah.
because the chemistry between him and Ford is just ridiculous. It's awesome. So, and it's endlessly rewatchable.
Oh yeah.
The only problem with it is this is intolerable. Anyway, aside from that, gosh almighty, we talked about TV series. Any other favorite movies of yours, past or present, other than The Rock and maybe some of the others you mentioned?
Let's see. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I've always been into military history. So, movies like, Saving Private Ryan or Black Hawk
Yeah.
Down, those are the ones that really kind of left an indelible mark on me.
All right. I'm a little bit surprised you didn't throw in the Oscar-winning film Glory with Broderick and Cary Elwes and Denzel Washington. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh yeah. I've seen that movie so many times. Yeah, I'm a little shocked at myself not, mentioning it. Part of that, I think, is we stayed up really late last night, in preparation for, fireworks tonight, so I'm burning the candle at both ends.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm a little
um,
preoccupied.
yeah, totally. No, and to that end, I mean, there are a
Mhm.
lot of other movies in that, spectrum of
So many.
yeah. I mean, Glory is absolutely, I think, probably one of the finest movies portraying that period that I think I've ever
I
seen
agree,
personally.
yeah. Because it wasn't pretty.
No,
It
it's
certainly
not.
wasn't pretty, and we made there were a lot of mistakes and bad stuff. Not to go into a curse word tangent here, but yeah, there was a lot of bad stuff that happened. But with that regiment, I mean, they made a huge difference. So, our hats are off to the 54th Massachusetts Regiment over there. My gosh,
Yeah.
that final scene at Fort Wagner, brother, that just tears me up, man. It
Oh
tears
yeah,
me.
that hits
Like,
you.
it's a great scene. It's a great sequence. I mean, the whole way it's put together, the lighting, the choreography, the costumes. Talk about the costumes.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. But when you see it and to a certain extent, what's going to happen, especially if you've seen it more than once, it just breaks you. It's like, man,
Oh
these guys
yeah.
are going into the fray and they really don't have much of a chance, but they're doing it anyway, and it takes
Mhm.
guts. So, like I said, my hat's off to them. And Denzel won the Oscar that year for Best Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture Drama. So, because he's Denzel.
Oh yeah, no, and he was absolutely amazing in that role.
Yeah, he's Denzel.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest actors of any generation. He's a fine actor, a fine man. So, well done to the cast and crew. And my gosh, if you're going to watch anything for 4th of July weekend, that's definitely a film that, yeah, it'll break you for sure. But at the same time, it is a portrait of history. So,
Yeah,
got to
100%.
with all due respect, DM Weber, you got to take that into consideration. But yeah, aside from great movies, because there's lots of them, Lord knows we could talk about that all day. Legal dramas, darn it. Anyway, talk more about legal dramas later. The Lincoln Lawyer,
Right.
or A Few Good Men. A Few Good Men is a fine example. I mean, can we handle
Yes.
the truth? Probably. But did he order the code red? That's what I've always wanted to know. He never. No, I'm just kidding. He does. It's a great movie. I've seen
Yeah.
it so many times. You've seen it 300 times, I'm sure.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You step back, but I've seen that movie probably 400 times,
Mhm.
but it still holds up every single time.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know. There's just something about it. If you haven't seen A Few Good Men in a while, I encourage you. So there's another movie you could watch during 4th of July weekend. Nothing wrong with that. Did you order the anyway? Aside
Such
from
a
the
good
fact
scene.
that DM Weber and I can sit here and quote movies all day, which I'm sure you've probably done at the dinner table once or twice.
A few.
Yeah, just a few
Yeah.
between you, your loved ones, which is it's
Yeah.
all great, it's all wonderful. When did you start writing?
So I started writing March of last year. That was when I first started actually putting words to paper.
Gotcha. All right, and I'm assuming the words just came out. You just kept on going 100 miles an hour, just writing everything down. Like, must get everything down in these notebooks.
Oh yeah. No,
I'm
and
assuming-
that was the funny part is, and I love to tell this part of the story of
Yeah, go
how it
ahead.
started,
Mhm.
was that when I first came up with the idea for Cold Front, right? I kind of ran through a couple iterations of some synopses and things like that that might work, might not. The fifth one landed on me. I'm like, okay, this might actually work. Ran it by, a friend who said, yeah, no, I'd definitely read a book like that, right? That friend happened to be J.K. Wolf, right? And we served together in the Coast Guard. So it was one of those easy things of, okay, yeah, I think I can make this work. And if, a guy like him is saying, yeah, definitely I'd read that. He reads a lot, right? Okay, that might work, for anyone's purpose, really. Okay, so I started writing on breaks in my civilian job. And at the time, I didn't even have a laptop, right? So I'm writing it on my iPhone only on breaks at my job. And using that means only, I was able to construct the first draft in about a month.
Why? Goodness gracious. Even on a small 4 or 5 inch screen, you're able to just knock that. I mean, look,
Right.
people have done it before. I've heard about other writers doing that. Oh, they're like, oh, yeah, I draft notes or draft stories on my phone. I do it on the Notes app. I do it on this app. I do it on my phone in general. Or some of them use what is known as a tablet, do it on their iPad. They have that smart pen, I think it's called.
Yeah.
They've done that before. I mean, there's all kinds of methods to put your notes/stories together. Don't get me wrong. But wow, man, that's to do it on such a, I mean, with twiddling your, that is not an easy thing. Because what we have here, not this one. This is off to the side here. Let me move this for a second. So this, which by the way, thank you to Bobby Nash for coining this phrase. I think it's word slinging time, brother. Yeah. This is a writing journal. Got this from Bobby Nash. Go to bobbynash.com. He's a crime fiction writer, but he also writes in other genres too. Just want to give him a quick shout out here. I do this every day, 10 minutes. I use this book. It's a really good one too. It's called 5-Minute Writing Prompts to get your creativity, to get your creative juices flowing. In case anyone's interested, it's by Tarn Wilson there. It's really, really good. So I've been doing that. And this is, it's chicken scratch, but I write like a 5-year-old. It's terrible. See, I just admitted to something on national television I don't often admit to. So there you go, guys. We just broke the internet. Well done, DM Weber. You forced me to, I confess. But yeah, no. So my hats are off to you because when I'm drafting something or putting a story together, I prefer to do it freehand in a notebook of some kind because I just can't see myself doing it on my phone. But my kudos to you is what I'm trying to convey here.
Well, so in fact, honestly, when you say, I write like a 5-year-old, yeah. Okay. So why do you think I type it out? Right. My writing is almost illegible. Right. So there's no way I was going to hand write anything. And as it is, anytime I outline, and when I have outlined for the second and now the third manuscript, right, I put in the outline, I put in the work to try and get, a good construct of what the next book's going to look like. And then within the first 4 chapters, that outline is completely out the window. It's gone. All right. It's basically useless at that point. It's a paperweight. So.
Gotcha. Hey, you know what they say, whatever works, ladies and gentlemen. Just to give everyone a healthy reminder, this is, and I quote, with the guest of honor for this week, DM Weber. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And by the way, if anyone else has a thought on what their writing process is, let us know. We'd be curious to hear whether you're a plotter, you're a planner, you're a pantser, which are writing terms that get thrown around a lot. So let us know. Be curious to hear your thoughts. What would you say are some of the rewards about being a writer in general?
So with Cold Front especially, my big concept was to write a fictional narrative from the Coast Guard's perspective, which no one's really ever done. And so being able to show that world, that inner working, to people who wouldn't otherwise understand it or see it, be exposed to it at all, is really critical to me.
Gotcha. All right. Hey, all makes sense. On the opposite side of the fence, though, what are some of the challenges about being a writer?
Well, it's funny because my buddy J.K. Wolf, as he was on, he said the same thing. Time is the number one thing that we fight against. And, it's one thing like, okay, for, a traditionally published author who, has the strength of a traditional publishing house behind them, right? To say, okay, yeah, you have these deadlines, but this is basically it, right? This is what you're doing, right? But for an indie author, right, self-published author, we don't have the strength of a publishing house to, dictate our timelines a little bit and kind of help us time manage better, right? So we have to fit it in between, time with the wife, time with the kids, jobs, and cars breaking down or whatever else you got. We don't get to just, focus on just the writing.
Yeah, time is definitely a factor. Tempus fugit.
Exactly.
It's very fleeting. It's very, very
Mhm.
fleeting. That is for sure. What pieces of advice would you offer to aspiring writers out there?
Well, I look at every bit of writing from two perspectives. One is a quote I heard back when, from Stephen King, who said basically everyone has some talent in writing, or most people do, right? Most people just haven't tapped into it, right? So if you're trying, if you're expanding on that possibility that you might have some talent in it, it's going to take time, right? You may have that talent, you may not. But if you do, you're going to find out fairly quickly that it's coming to you very easily, right? The other half of that is Hemingway's assertion that every first draft is garbage, right? so, um, so on that side of it, you say, okay, well, if I'm going to write it, I'm going to write the first draft, and then most likely I'm going to find a few people who are going to read it, and they're going to say, okay, yeah, this is good, but right. Or you might get someone who says, okay, this is just, I don't even know what to do with this right now. And you're going to be humble. Your ego is going to take a bruise and a hit. And you're going to say, okay, yep, I hear you. Put the ego off in a box somewhere and you try and reconstruct what you thought was a very good narrative.
Yeah, it does come in pieces. Story doesn't just necessarily write itself. You have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. 3-act structure, and that takes time. Let's be perfectly honest here. But yeah, very good pieces of advice. Thank you for sharing that with us. So let's talk about this a little bit here, because first of all, always judge the book by the cover. Okay, so this cover is sick. This is a ridiculously good looking cover. But for someone who's unfamiliar with Cold Front, what exactly is Cold Front, and how did this come about for you?
Well, it's an interesting evolution in what happened because, like I said, I started writing back in March of last year. And when the concept came to me, it was because, as often these things do, I was in the shower, right? And I was thinking back to some of the Jack Carr novels that I've been rereading again, right? And I thought, man, he writes from experience. It reads as if he has lived everything that he's writing in his books. So how would I write something like that? If I could, what would I write about? And so a 5-minute shower turned into a 45-minute, episode of me staring at the wall while the water ran cold, saying, okay, what is my experience in? Right. And at the time I had 17 years in the Coast Guard, 7 in the reserve and 10 on active duty. And so I said, okay, there's got to be a way I can put that to good use. Right. And that's where those synopses came from. Right. And that's where then I just started writing, and it just came along. And then as I started figuring out, okay, like this might actually work, that's when J.K. Wolf and I actually started writing together. And we started talking to the same cover artist. And I will openly admit, I gave him input right off the bat. And the first draft he came up with, I looked at him and was like, oh my goodness, that is, I don't know what to say right now. And I then went back and I said, okay, how do I soften the blow? Right. And, I kind of said, okay, yeah, I like where you're going with it. And then I provided further input and I said, okay, this is what I want to see, out of it going, to the next place, to the next evolution. Right. And the second draft is what you see now. He just absolutely crushed it. Right. So I got a lot of respect for that guy, Ambient Pixel Design out in New York. And he's done the cover for the first one. He's done the cover for the second one already. And then he will be doing the cover for the third here in the not too distant future.
Ooh, goodness gracious. Yeah, because that cover, I like his style, man. I like it. I like it a lot. Thanks. Can I have a grant?
Right.
It honestly, it's a really sick cover. I mean, I'm getting a little bit of NCIS, but it's mostly I'm getting like 24 vibes here to a certain, because of the intensity on the main character. I think it's the main character on the left-hand side. And then the female, right. I'm thinking, I'm wondering what kind of factor is she going to play into this? You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. So It's really good, and I can see I can hear the either 24 theme playing in my head while this is going, or trying to think what's another piece of music that would go along with this. There's got to be something. I don't know, but if anyone has a playlist for this, let us know.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your 2 cents. Just
There's
throwing that out.
there's ways to make that work.
There is. I'm sure there is. Do you prefer to write in silence, or do you have a little bit of music or maybe a fireplace going on as you're writing? What's your writing process like?
So at first, as I alluded to, it was on breaks at my civilian job,
Right.
and in a very loud environment, by the way, on my iPhone only. So that was my writing process for the first one. When I started working on the editing, I was lucky enough to be able to get a laptop on short notice and started working on the editing, the laptop at a desk, and I had not a quiet environment exactly because, it's a house with a couple kids and way too many cats. And so it's by no means a quiet environment. If it gets too loud, right, then I just lock into some, instrumental music, things like that, and just kind of really center my mind on what I'm working on in the moment. But for the most part, I have a great ability to compartmentalize any distractions and just kind of focus on what I'm doing, regardless of what's going on around me.
Fantastic. Yeah. I used to be. I like to write in silence, but now I like to have music playing as I'm writing because it helps me concentrate. Depending on what music it is, of course, because every piece of music is very different, and people are, they can interpret it or listen to it. At least they go about it in their own way. But yeah, sometimes I have music playing when I'm writing, especially if it's in a genre. Like if I'm writing a Western, I want Western music playing while I'm writing. Or if I'm
makes sense.
Yeah, if I'm writing a fantasy adventure story, I want fantasy adventure type music. So it's funny because I discovered this on something called YouTube. I know, weird, right? And they have this thing. I don't know whether it was somebody individually or was a team of people put together what is known as synthwave music. That's in the vein of the 80s. So I type this in, and it's like barbarian music, because Conan the Barbarian is fantasy adventure, right? It's fantasy adventure, like Robert E. Howard. And you type in barbarian music, and this particular piece of music came up, and I started listening. It's got the electric guitar playing, but it's like it still makes you feel like you're in a fantasy type adventure environment.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of stuff was going on in the 80s. Look at the movies that came out in the 80s. It was ridiculous how many great movies came out, Indiana Jones included. So you have this music playing. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, all right, I'm seeing this. I got it. Like it's vibing. I'm vibing. All right, let me put this idea down because I got an idea for a story with this. Okay, one with the sword, this one with the sword, that. Maybe throw in I have the power. A little bit of He-Man thrown in there. I don't know. It depends on how you interpret it, right? Every piece of music and every property out there, art is subjective. It really is. That is just a fact of life. But yeah, I guess that's how my writing process is, but it's different for everybody. But like I said, let us know in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as far as what your writing process may or may not be. But yeah, and the cover is great. Congratulations on Cold Front. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Is this going to be continuing on a continuing series, or are you going to do some like spin-offs? Or are you going to like create a new series with a different character? What exactly, to Kevin Feige yourself, is there a 5-10 year plan here?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And that's where I'm kind of thinking about right now. So I'm in the middle of the editing process for the second book. And, remember when I said that sometimes someone says, okay, this is garbage. That's where I'm at right now with a couple of editors, right? One of them said, okay, this hits like a cotton ball. Okay. And it needs to hit like a, punch from, Evander Holyfield, right? Okay. Yep. We're working on that, right? There's some things that are going to, change and realign and make that work way better on its own in the midst of the trilogy. Now, the third manuscript's already written, so that's waiting its turn. But then after that, right now, my thought process is I have a new protagonist lined up, which people will start to see throughout the second and third book. And then, that will take on its own identity in a sense, probably more investigative than kinetic action. And so that will be a little bit more like a Bosch Ballard dynamic, right? And then that'll probably be about 3, maybe 4 books out. And there is another idea floating around my head about a prequel to Cold Front, the MSRT days prior to the events of Cold Front, bringing back the original team that Logan was on, and specifically a deployment to Indonesia. So maybe we'll see.
Yes! That's awesome!
I mean, honestly, that it is, and we wish you nothing but success with that, brother. Nothing but success. That's freaking awesome. It really is. Sorry, I just thought I'd throw another pop culture reference your way to see if you could catch that. I'm assuming you caught it, right? You caught that? Did you see that?
Oh,
movie
yeah.
That was from.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
'cause I was gonna say, if you haven't seen Old School, then we got issues.
Oh, definitely.
Frank anyway, once it hits your lips, it's so good. Anyway, Will Ferrell aside, gosh,
He's
too
a
many
wild
movies-
man.
He really is.
Yep.
And there's too many movies to count with his name written all over it.
Mhm.
What has your experience been like at book signings or other events, whether you're there as the vendor or there as the attendee?
So I'll be honest, I haven't gone to any book signings of other authors yet. I say yet because I have one scheduled on the 10th with another local author who does romance novels. I've been getting into her work, and we're doing a joint signing at a food cart station down in West Salem. So that is going to be the first one that I'm at for someone else. Now we're both going to be, selling books, signing books. So that's going to be a slightly different experience. As far as my own, I've done a few different venues now. And one of the things I've kind of noticed is there are people who, will kind of come in, kind of look and be like, oh, okay, whatever, and pass you by. Right. But a lot of times, people come in, right. They, see the table, see the book, see the promotional materials. And even if they did maybe plan on just walking by, it catches their eye, like you said, from that cover, right? That was the intention, was kind of grabbing people's attention right off the bat. And sometimes they'll see the cover and they'll stop, and then they'll ask a bunch of questions. And a lot of times that's, how I'm getting, my sales, is because I've stopped someone just long enough that they ask the question. And then when I explain where it all came from, where it's going next, they're like, okay, yeah, let me get a copy, right? And even if it's not for them, it's for someone else. But either way, just that small, slow down just enough to see the cover, ask the questions, get engaged with me, right? And then just I just explain exactly what it's all about. It tends to produce good results.
Excellent, Smithers. Excellent. No, that's no, that's fantastic, and we wish you the best of luck with all your events moving forward for sure. Get those sales, man. Make that coin, but sell them books, brother.
Right.
For show. For someone who's unfamiliar, if you had to do what is known as the elevator pitch, I'm sure you've heard this term before. Cold front elevator pitch. What exactly would it be?
Okay, so the first description I ever gave to someone was, think of terminal list on the water, right? It's a conspiracy story, right? It's a violence within the ranks story, right? And while it's not strictly a vengeance story, it is a story about a man who just will not let the bad things happen, right? To him, to others, to his team. And that's what you will see throughout the book. You will see, Logan Cross faced with these dilemmas that, he probably could have walked away from. Having come off of one of the tactical law enforcement teams, he could have just walked away from it, because that's not really his life anymore. But that's not who he is.
All right. You said, like I said, you sold me, man. I mean, that cover, I got to find out what happens with these characters on the cover. I got to find out what is going on. Why is he so intense? Why is she ready to just bust some hits? Like, let's go, man. Throw me in the thick of it. Let's John Wick this sucker. Because John Wick is awesome. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. Who is an author, living or dead, you would love to have a conversation with?
Living or dead? I think I'll put that into the two separate categories. Dead, Tom Clancy, hands down. And I say that only because a lot of his writing kind of, I think, influenced the kind of hidden conspiracies within the books that I'm writing now. I'd love to get his insight. Alive, I'd say Jack Carr, because again, that, I think he was largely the inspiration for why I started writing in the first place.
Good picks. Good picks. Yeah, I have a copy of the Terminal List over here on my 2 mile long
Mhm.
TBR shelf. I have the paperback version too. It's not the hardcover. I kind of wish I would have gotten the hardcover, but because the paperback is, only so
Yeah.
small. But I have it, and I do plan on reading the Terminal because a lot of people in my writing circle, the men's adventure fiction writers Discord that we're on, T.G. Brown is in that too.
Yeah.
He says you got to read Jack Carr. You got to read Jack Carr. You got to check out the Terminal List. You got to check out I'm like, I hear you. I bought a copy of it on Thrift.
All right.
What are you doing?
Here's the view behind me.
What do we
Check
have
this
here?
out.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Everything Jack Carr up to current and present, the fourth option,
Good.
with MP Woodward, who happens to be neighbors with one of my old boss's parents.
Is that right?
He's now following me. I'm like, oh, hey, that's cool.
Really?
A little bit of Lee Child there, a little Brad Thor. And next to that, of course, you see Josh Jensen, Jack McTavish. So, yeah, a lot of different authors that I follow. But, Jack Carr, like I said, has been the primary reason why I started writing in the first place. So,
yeah, I got to start reading the Terminal List. It's sitting here in paperback. I just got to freaking read it so much. There's so many books, man.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. We have this shirt that says "So many books, so little time." And it's so true because there's so many I want to read. And I want to support you and all the other authors out there. It's hard finding the time when, like you said, we have other commitments, jobs, families, kids, taking people to soccer practice or what. It's just whatever. It's a plethora, Jefe. It's a plethora. It's a lot. But anyway, great picks, by the way. And I like that bookshelf that you have there. That is a really good display. And all those books, really good. Just from the spines, they look like really good book spines, book covers. So that's cool. I'll give credit where credit is due. Since you showed us a bit of your bookshelf, if you had to narrow it down to 3 books that belong on every single living person's bookshelf, what 3 books would you pick specifically?
Okay. So first off, the Terminal List, I think, because, we've been talking about it so much. Honestly, for a debut military thriller, it hits all the marks, right? You won't find a better military thriller and conspiracy thriller story out there. To that end, I think it's hard because I'm just now starting to get into a lot of other fiction. But I think personally, my top favorite of all time is Without Remorse by Tom Clancy. In terms of military thrillers, the character of John Clark, before he became John Clark, is about one of the most compelling narratives I think I've ever read. And then I think with that, again, going back to Brad Thor, I think, Lions of Lucerne was, again, kind of head and shoulders above most narratives in the category. And the character of Scott Harvath is one of those ones of, okay, he's complicated. At times you're going to be like, wow, I really don't like this guy. But when you see how he does things and why he does things, you're like, okay, yep, I can agree with it.
Gotcha. So now you just gave me 2 more titles I got to add to my 2 mile long TBR because I already have the Terminal List right here. I just got to pick up the other 2, right? So,
well, and a quick aside about how many books we all have to read, right, and how I managed to make it work. So currently, the way I do it, because I have to do my own writing, I have to do everything else, and how do I fit multiple books in a short period of time? Right. So how I do that is usually I pick a bigger name author that I'm reading, and I say, okay, do they have the audiobook on Spotify? Bam, that's my first one to and from work, right? And then one I'll usually load up on my computer, right, an EPUB version of maybe a lesser known author, right, and another indie author, something like that, get their EPUB, right, and read it on my computer. And then I'll get a physical copy, from someone who maybe doesn't have audiobook or an EPUB or something like that, or I can just directly contribute to them, such as like Jack McTavish. I just finished Royal Diamonds, read that in paper form while I was reading this romance author's 4th book and the audiobook of MP Woodward's Shadow State, right? So I'm always reading 2 to 3 books at a time.
Boy, okay, more power to you. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'll admit this. I know this sounds strange, but I have bookmarks in like 6, 7, 8 books because I flip between, when I'm in the mood for that day, or if a guest is going to be on my show in the coming weeks, and I want to get ahead of the game and read, some of the materials they've written. I want to read it and get it fresh in my mind so I can talk about it with them on the show. I will do my best to do that. I can't always guarantee it, right? Because life happens, right?
Yeah.
But I do my best with what the books I have behind me, because they're all over this room, folks. I mean, we got a shelf over here, we got a shelf back here, which you can hardly see, I know, because we're in the main screen right now. And then we got 2 stacks of books over here. And then I literally just placed an order this morning for the book While She Was Forgotten, written by S.N. St. Clair, which is a mystery thriller series that she's been putting out somewhat recently. Because I just finished The Forgotten Girl, which is this one over here. I just finished this one this morning, which is really good, by the way.
Okay.
But I want to know what happens next because it's part of a series. I'm like, what was that? What the heck was that? I want to know what the heck just happened. So what do? You pick up the sequel, Sydney, because these days you got to make a sequel.
Yeah,
you just got to do it. You got to do it. As Palpatine says, do it. Anyway, yes. For any Star Wars fans out there, I'm just throwing that out there as a for instance. But good picks. I'm going to add the 2 that you mentioned because, like you said, we already have the terminal list covered here in paperback form. I got to get the other 2 that you mentioned because you got me intrigued now, right? That's all about salesmanship. It's good salesmanship. Just saying, we're giving everyone free plugs. And once again, this is And I Quote with DM Weber. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat, respectively. But with that being said, I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to DM Weber for being our guest on this week's episode of And I Quote. Yeah, DM, it was great having you. I hope you enjoyed your time here. I hope you're excited to come back here in like what, 2 minutes, 2 weeks, whatever the heck it is.
I know, right? It's right around the corner.
Yeah, it's literally right around the corner of Know Your Role Boulevard and Jabroni Drive. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Yes, full disclosure, DM Weber and company are going to be joining us for an episode of the Writers Showcase. We're calling it the West Coast Takeover show because it's going to be, obviously I'm going to be reining this thing in as the host and producer, but Ben Shankman from Massachusetts is going to be joining us. DM Weber, J.K. Wolf, T.G. Brown, S.N. St. Clair. There's a lot of 2-letter names here. A lot of acronyms being used. But yes, they're all going to be here. They're all going to be here in the studio. They are going to be here, and we're going to be asking them questions about their writing process, the rewards, the challenges, some of their favorite characters they've written over the years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, like they said in that play, The King and I. And it's going to be fun. And I think, DM Weber, you're going to enjoy yourself. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
You're gonna be amongst your West Coast brothers and sisters here. So that's going to be
Now, and I definitely want to give a quick plug to J.K. Wolf, right? Because, like I said, we started writing at the same time. Funny story, and I think he kind of said the same thing when you interviewed him. Is we started writing at the same time, and not necessarily exactly in the same moment. So I started writing mine. I started sending him little snippets, first early chapters, things like that. And he was like, he's like, I'm kicking myself. I need to start writing now too. He starts writing his, and then the quick realization we came to, the 2 of us together, was what would happen if the 2 stories and the protagonists were connected? What if they crossed over? And we're looking at each other like, what if they did? I mean, okay, let's do it. Right. So now he's in the midst of writing his 3rd. My 3rd is already written, awaiting editing. Right. The stories interconnect. The protagonists very much interconnect. We have now written, as we're writing our 3rd novels, each of our protagonists is now playing a physical role in the other's 3rd book, right? So writing someone else's protagonist has been quite interesting. But the way, J.K. Wolf has written Detective Jake Harper, man, it's been such a dream to write his protagonist in from my eyes because he's so well established, right? He's such a good character, right? He's such a compelling character. It's been quite interesting, and his books are fantastic. First one, Shadows of the Badge, is amazing. Shepherd's Wake, the second one, I think is even better. It just ups the ante every single time.
Well, like I said, TBR, you people just continue to make this thing longer, and you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. All right, you're killing me, Alice. You're gosh darn killing me. Anyway, that's a line from another movie. I just quoted 2 different movies in 2 different sentences, but still, yeah. Which one?
No, I was just saying, yeah, you did. I couldn't remember which ones, but yeah.
It's okay. You're killing me, Small as a Sandlot. You're killing me,
Yep.
Alice from A League of Their Own.
There we go. Yep.
Tom Hanks.
Yep.
Yelling at the catcher because the
too
catcher's
long.
been wearing the same socks for the last 6 games.
Yep.
Because in the beginning of that scene, they said Alice thinks it's bad luck to change her socks. So we all have to suffer. Get away.
Yeah.
Outfielders. I don't want any problems. Alice, I want you to be there and be ready. Anyway, I love A League of Their Own. I mean, that's once again, that is another portrait of what was going on in America at that time in the 40s.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to know how tough these individuals who played baseball at that time were, watch that freaking movie, man, because they broke legs, they broke arms, they have broken fingers. They sometimes ride a bus just to play a doubleheader the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's watch A League of Their Own with Tom Hanks, Madonna when she was sane. Oh God, why am I blanking? Gina Davis,
Yep.
Gina Davis, the Queen of Diamonds, Dottie Henson. Okay, watch A League of Their Own. See, we're giving everyone some great picks here to watch over the holiday weekend. And the holiday weekend is just getting started, DM Weber. We've reached the tip of the iceberg with this bad boy. We got today and we got tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Anyway, no, there is a tomorrow.
You're pulling all-nighters, you know, just watching all these movies.
Good. We have so many recommendations, right? You got a list of movies I'm sure you and the family are going to be watching. We got some we're going to be chiming in with here.
Definitely.
So it helps everybody, right? You know what they say, in this world, every little bit helps. We hope we've helped you enjoy this holiday weekend just a little bit more with our really good interview / commentating skills. So DM Weber, thank you for being here with us on this week's episode of And I Quote. Now, if someone wants to know more about you and purchase copies of your books, where can they follow you on social media?
So I have a TikTok account, Facebook, Instagram, and those are all linked through my website as well. So if you find my website, you're going to find all of my social media feeds as well.
Awesome. Fantastic. And all the links are located in the description of this video. So don't worry. We did you a favor, buddy. We make sure we plug all our guests. Whoever comes on the show, we always make sure we drop those links in the chat. So stick around. I'm going to talk to you here again momentarily. Thank you, sir, for being with us. My name is Ryan of And I Quote Channel. You can follow me across all forms of social media simply at, where am I pointing to? Where is it? At And I Quote Channel. If you want to check out our past episodes of And I Quote, we have an And I Quote playlist. If you want to check out some of the movie watch-alongs we've done the last few years, they're in the Movie Nerds playlist. And I do want to remind you that we are on the road to 5,000 subscribers on this channel. Once we do, we'll have a live stream that will include returning favorites, and we're going to have some special giveaways that you, the person who's watching or listening to this broadcast, is going to be eligible to win. Also, the seasons are changing. We got shirts, we got hoodies, we got stickers you can add to your water bottles. We have coffee mugs, notebooks, maybe a writer's notebook that DM Weber can use to write down all his incredible ideas for future stories moving forward. They're all on sale on the Redbubble store. You know where you can find those? In the link in the description of this video, my link tree, or they are linked in our social media bios. Writer Showcase, the latest episode is going to drop on Saturday, July 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And no, DM Weber, I'm not going to list all 30 time zones for you guys because I've already done 2, and that's enough for me. We have too many time zones in this universe. I can't keep track of this. What's military time? I don't know. And I don't know how people use it. I really don't understand it. I really don't. But more power to those that do. But in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when the videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when supporting indie creators from all over the world. And happy 250th birthday to the US of A. And we hope all of you have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Take a look at these wonderful creators out there.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
see you. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.